This episode of To The Journey is brought to you by Audible.com, offering more than 180,000 titles for smartphone, tablet and desktop. To get a free audiobook of your choice and help Trek FM at the same time, visit audibletrial.com/trekfm. And also by Enterprise in Space, an international programme of the non-profit National Space Society. Find out how you can help science and education and become a virtual crew member aboard the NSS Enterprise Orbiter by visiting enterpriseinspace.org. And if you want to join in the conversation and share your thoughts on this episode, join the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook. Just type Babel, that's B-A-B-E-L, into the Facebook search field. We look forward to seeing you there.
Hi, I'm Manuente Reme. I played Ichev on Star Trek Voyager, and you're listening to Trek FM.
I think it's safe to say that no one on this crew has been more obsessed with getting home than I have. But when I think about everything we've been through together, maybe it's not the destination that matters. Maybe it's the journey. And if that journey takes a little longer, so we can do something we all believe in, I can't think of any place I'd rather be, or any people I'd rather be with.
To the journey.
You're here.
To the journey.
Hello everybody at home and welcome. This is To The Journey. I'm your co-host Zachary Fruhling, and with me as always are...
Suzanne Williamson and...
Okay, sure.
Well, today we are going to be continuing our multi-part series on our desert island picks for our favorite Voyager episodes, this time from Season 4 of Voyager.
I'm so glad to be back here on the desert island, guys. I've missed it.
Oh, me too.
We have a barbecue prepared on the beach.
I love these desert island episodes because our picks are just so different from each other. As long as we've been doing this, you'd think we'd be able to totally guess each other's picks, but it turns out that it's actually a little hard. I don't quite know what you guys are going to include in your list this time.
We never know what you're going to pick, Zach. You're always a bit out there.
Well, I'm kind of a contrarian by nature.
It's always the most random.
No, they're not random. They're my favorite ones.
Exactly, random.
I think what we need to do is pick our least favourite three, and that'll be Zach's, probably.
Exactly.
Am I really that much of a contrarian? Really?
Yeah, you are
We'll
the
see.
Chakotay of the group.
Yes, you are.
I'm the Chakotay of the group.
You are the Chakotay.
I don't know that I'd go that far.
In terms of his contrariness.
Oh, yes. I do have a visitor in my hut.
You have a visitor in your hut, do you? Have you brought a special guest?
I have. Logan is with me. He's strapped to me because he did not want to hang out with his daddy tonight while we were recording. It's the only way to keep him somewhat quiet.
That gentle cooing sound is not actually Suzanne. It is Suzanne's offspring.
Yes.
And the occasional slurping.
Yeah. But he's all psyched up to hear our picks, isn't he?
He might have some of his own.
Marvellous.
Does he already have any favorite episodes? I mean, I know you guys are watching some Star Trek together.
Oh, yeah, we're watching Voyager. And he's gotten to recognize the theme song, I believe.
Really?
Marvellous.
Because he kind of dances along with it.
It's oh, it's Voyager.
As he's sitting on my knee.
Good, good. He's already one of us. One of us. One of us.
One of us. One of us.
Yes, exactly. Who's going to go first?
I think Suzanne should start, but I'm curious whether right off the bat we'll be able to check one of these episodes off the list because it's on all of our lists.
I'm pretty convinced there's going to be one that we're all going to have picked.
Well, I'm pretty predictable.
Who's going to say
Okay,
it?
well then I will go first.
Okay.
Year of Hell, Year of Hell, Year of Hell, Year of Hell.
That's it. Who'd have thought?
Yay!
Are we that predictable?
That's
Yeah, we are.
everybody's number one pick for season 4, right?
I know I am. Predictable. It's all about the pocket watch.
It's probably the best two-parter for me in the season for sure, but it's actually not my favorite episode of the season. The one I could rewatch again and again
Oh,
and again and
wow.
again. So it's on my list, and you guys knew it would be on my list, but it's not top of my list as much as I
okay.
love it.
He's going to come up with something random. I know he is.
You guys are totally going to understand when I tell you the rest of my picks. But
It's probably going to be something Neelix-centric or something.
what is it about Year of Hell for you guys?
Just everything.
Dude!
Oh,
It is everything, I know, but I want to hear from you guys.
Wow, where do I even start trying to talk about what I love about Year of Hell? Like,
Oh, it's Chakotay and Tom's relationship on the Krenim ship. It's Catherine missing Chakotay, palpably missing him. It's Chakotay missing Catherine.
Yeah.
Give Catherine my best. It's everything.
Yeah.
yeah, and it's just like
Yes.
the the drama of it, and like the fact that Voyager gets more and more bashed up, and you just like, I still remember now the first time I watched it when she walks into the ready room and there's just like everything everywhere, and she like picks up the little laptop thing and she's kind of like looking at it, and then she presses the thing and she goes broken, and then she just tosses it at the side. And I just remember that, and it's just like, wow, like you just watching Voyager get beat up like that just really gets you. And
it was really fun to see that, because you didn't really get to see that. Like in the Next Generation, you didn't get to see the Enterprise D get beat up all that much, except for maybe in Generations, the movie. But, you know, at most they'd have like the engineering isolation doors go down and you'd get a Geordi barrel roll and that kind of thing. But you never really see the ship go to pieces. Exactly.
Yeah.
And Voyager gets a bad rap. People always say that Voyager doesn't show any effects, but here we get to see it's all compressed into 2 episodes, but we get to see, you know, some long-term effects of what's going on in this episode in an alternate timeline. But.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think this whole story is just so compelling. Yeah.
And not just with the ship. I mean, people being injured and killed.
Yeah.
Tuvok losing his vision, and the captain with that giant scar on her face.
Yeah, when she's like runs into the room to like repair something, and then she's like coughing, and they're like, the doctor's trying to get her to like go get healed, and she's like, I don't have time for that. I just gotta
go back
in. Yeah, it's just drama. Like, it's just like so compelling. It really is. I love it.
One of my favorite aspects of Year of Hell is just the Captain Ahab like quest that Anarax has to undo time. He's like this surgeon going in there and pulling on a thread and you know, poking and prodding, trying to rewrite history to suit his whims. It's amazing, but it's so self-destructive. And there's a great metaphor in that for all of us.
But he's trying to get back the love of his life, and I mean, I can kind of understand that. Going to great lengths to regain someone that you lost because of what you have done.
That's what I'm saying. He's a totally sympathetic character.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's one of those where he's kind of set off down this path, and to start with, it seems like quite a simple thing just to restore something, but he just kind of gets further and further and further down the rabbit hole, and he just doesn't know how to even get back where he started, never mind what he was trying to achieve in the first place.
And he just refuses to believe that he's not clever enough to pull this off.
Yeah. But I think it's just, he just doesn't even know how to stop after a while.
Well, if he's the one that did it, why wouldn't he be able to the one to undo it?
Yeah. But there's just so much to like about these episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I've probably said this before at some point when we've been talking about various things, but this isn't just my favourite episode of Voyager. It's my favourite episode of Star Trek.
Out of all of Star Trek, this is your favorite episode?
Yeah, this is my favourite out of all of Star Trek.
That's a pretty bold claim.
Yeah, it is. Including all the movies as well. Yeah, it's my favourite. This, for me, is like Voyager's movie. Like, this is the closest we get to a movie for Voyager, I think. I mean, yeah, we get like Scorpion and like a few other double parters that kind of come close to the idea of a Voyager movie, but I think the really big epic, this would look brilliant on the big screen. It has the feel of the movies for me. For Voyager, this is the one.
It definitely might actually be just a little bit better than our 3-part series, The Progenitors, that the three of us wrote together.
It's a wee bit better than that, yeah.
Oh,
you know,
no
given
comment.
the fact that it was written and produced by actual professionals.
Hey, who you call an amateur?
When it comes to writing movies, Zach, come on. So, yeah, this one goes in there, and obviously we've all picked it for very good reason. I think it's probably the one episode on which we agree more than any other.
Yay!
So.
I would like to hear, if there are listeners out there, if you don't like Year of Hell and this is not one of your favorite episodes in season 4, I kind of want to hear from you in the Babel conference or on Twitter. Like, why does this episode not work for you? I think it works for most people, but I want to hear
Yes, what don't you like?
I want to hear those contrarian perspectives.
But if you do like it, also say so.
I hate the fact that it all gets reset buttoned away. That's the only thing I don't like.
In true Voyager fashion.
Yeah, because, she needed to hold on to that pocket watch, and Yeah.
What really does work, though, after we've seen Voyager go to pieces over a 2-part episode, at the end when Voyager's restored and everything is brand new and shiny, the bridge looks great again, that is such a contrast, and it's so striking because you got so used to seeing it with the lights off and stuff falling everywhere, and then boom, everything's restored. It's like the end of yesterday's Enterprise in TNG, when boom, the timeline's reset and everything, and everything's back, and it's such a striking contrast.
Yeah, and you're back to the proper Enterprise.
Except there was no Guinan to walk in and be like,
something's not right here. Something is wrong here. Yeah.
Just called to say hi.
We needed
Captain
Guinan.
Picard.
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Thanks, Guinan. Go back to 10 forward.
No, I am fine with them resetting it, and I think there's a point during the double episode where you realise they're going to reset button it, and it's quite a way before the end because you think the ship's not coming back from this, and we're not coming back from what's happened to everybody, so you know that it's going to happen. But I just wish there was a way for them to remember at least bits of it. Because that's the bit that cuts me. Like, I don't mind that it goes away. It's just them not remembering any of it. That's the thing that gets me.
I think that's the thing that's so hard, having seen these episodes again and again. You forget what it's like having seen it only the first time, when you didn't know that they were going to reset button it away, and the drama sucks you in. You know, now that we know what's going to happen, it's hard to reclaim that naivete or that innocence of watching this episode the first time.
I do remember, though, that bit when they walk into the ready room that I mentioned before. I do remember, like, the feeling of, like, the punch in the gut when I saw it for the first time. I do still remember that. I was like, whoa, look what they did. Because, like you say, they just don't do that in Star Trek. We don't see that so often. Yeah, in the movies we see it a bit more, and we see the ship destroyed in the movies. But in the shows, we just don't see things getting bashed up to that extent on a regular basis.
It must be hard to restore a set to pristine condition after thrashing it so much. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors, a lot of, like, fog and... dark lights and stuff. But,
yeah, well, I think they actually, like, set fire to it, didn't they?
That's what I'm saying, right? They have to undo all of that.
Yeah.
I don't think you can unset a fire.
No. I don't think you can either.
Call the Federation Insurance Company,
That was all our first pick, then. Year of Hell.
Yep. Okay, that was totally predictable. So, okay, we knew that was going to be on all of our lists.
Whose pick was that, anyway? Or was it just everybody's?
That was Suzanne's, technically.
Okay. Who's going next, then?
I'll go. You guys can both come over to my hut to watch Message in a Bottle.
Thank you! Yay! I love Message in a Bottle.
Come on, I'm not so contrarian. My picks aren't so out there.
No, I do love Message in a Bottle.
No, some of them are.
I didn't pick it, but I do like it.
That is the one I would watch more than Year of Hell.
Okay.
Oh, good. I can take this off my list because you're bringing it.
It's like watching an episode of Frasier. It's like Frasier and Niles nattering at each other. It's such an amazing comedic duo.
The back and forth just keeps me in stitches the entire time.
Yeah, it is pretty funny, to be fair.
Yeah, I actually think of this as the Frasier episode of Voyager. I do, totally.
But it's missing Eddie.
Yeah, where's Eddie? Right.
I just think this episode works so beautifully with the Doctor's character, and I like the fact that we run into this other EMH where he's just kind of the same in a lot of ways.
Well, if you thought the Doctor was snarky and pretentious, the Mark II takes it to a whole other level.
Yeah, and it's like, well, we've got a different face, but, the attitude's the same.
And Andy Dick was the perfect person to play the Mark II.
Yeah, I thought he was great. I mean, I don't know him so well from other things. I know a lot of people over in the States know him from a lot of other things. I don't, but I did think he was great in this.
Well, he's such a good physical actor, too. Like, the little clip of him trying to get into the Jeffries tube. He can't figure out how to go.
Yeah.
Great acting with no words. It's amazing. This is just a little thing, but it's an atmospheric thing. I love the vibe of like a souped-up, futuristic, even more advanced than Voyager starship. I just like the different setting that it takes place in.
And it was so brightly lit. I like that. Voyager's always so dark all the time.
Compared to, like, Deep Space Nine?
Compared to Next Gen, because
I'm
Next
just
Gen's
saying.
just
Yeah.
Hilton, isn't it?
But, I mean, you don't need it to be dark all the time.
I don't know why people like working in the dark so much in Star Trek. I don't understand that aspect of how, especially like in Discovery.
I think the consoles would hurt your eyes after a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously like a thing for the aesthetic of the actual show. It's not necessarily very practical for them to use it.
No, I would do it the other way around. Like, you go to Red Alert, all the lights come on so you can see what you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
why do they go even lower during Red Alert? That makes no sense.
It's just artistic license.
Is it me, or is the captain's chair on the Prometheus way too high? It's almost like Klingon in its stature with the big,
Well, that's what
highly
I was
raised center
thinking.
chair.
It's like a Klingon ship, isn't it? Where it's
Yes,
on sort of
it's like a
plinth
brightly
or
lit
what-
Klingon ship.
It's on a pedestal.
Yeah. It's certainly a different style, isn't it? Most of the bridges that we see in Star Trek, you see all the sort of seating positions sunk down. Although Kirk's chair is on a bit of a raised thing, isn't it?
It is on
The
a
original
pedestal.
series. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is like 4 pedestals.
Oh, yeah.
This is like
It's
4 pedestals
more
stacked
than
on
that,
top
yeah.
of each other. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good episode. I wouldn't pick it as one of my favourites, but I do enjoy watching it, yeah.
It will just always get a chuckle out of me. Except the multi-vector assault mode, I'm not convinced that is a real thing.
I like that. I think that's so nifty.
As the technology got to the point where they can, create digital ships and do digital things with them on screen, then boom, multi-vector assault mode. You can film that now, and you don't have to, it's cheaper to do than it used to be. So those things become possible in Voyager that weren't possible in TNG so much. But it's a cool idea. I mean, it's a great way to kind of confuse your enemy, right? Now they have 5 things to shoot at instead of 1.
I could see them implementing that on the Orville, actually. That would kind of work.
Yes, absolutely. The Orville is kind of like the Prometheus. That's a good point.
Yes, exactly. So what about the doctor's speech at the very end when he's back on Voyager and he's telling the captain he spoke directly with headquarters? Apparently Voyager was declared officially lost about 14 months ago or whatever.
So sad.
But he set the record straight. He told them everything that they've been doing and just let the captain know they wanted you to know. You're no longer alone.
You're not alone.
I mean, that right there just tugs right at your heart. It's like, oh.
It's really touching. And you know that the Doctor has to go back to Voyager and keep the Voyager family together and have more seasons of Voyager. But in reality, if they had the power to send an actual crew member, not a hologram, but like a real crew member, like transport a crew member back to the Alpha Quadrant, wouldn't it make more sense to get one person home rather than no one home? So stay there once you've made it. You've reached the end of the journey.
But didn't he choose to go back?
No.
Well, sure, but I'm just saying, if you were Captain Janeway and you had the power to get one of your crew members home for good, wouldn't you take it?
How would you even make that choice?
That's what I'm saying. They missed an opportunity to dwell on this.
This
a
is
little bit.
Voyager, though, right? So we all know how it would go. It would go like how it goes in the 37s, where she's like, anyone who wants to stay behind, meet in the cargo bay, and there's nobody there. So she'd ask for somebody to volunteer to be who wants to be the one to go, and nobody would want to go. They'd all stay.
Oh, no. I think
They'd
Harry
all
would be
stay.
there volunteering. I want to go home.
I don't know. By season 4.
Grab your blanket, Harry, and go on. Go
In
home.
season 1, yeah, but not by season 4, He's halfway to his
He's still whiny.
"It's the journey" speech. He's halfway to his "It's not about the destination."
But Harry, if he were the one sent back to the Alpha Quadrant, he would go visit his parents first before he came home to Voyager.
Yeah, of course he would.
Sure.
Don't you think his parents would be there waiting for him?
They probably would.
His parents have probably moved to Cardassia to be near to where he disappeared.
Harry, we brought your clarinet.
Obviously, his parents would not have actually moved to Cardassia, but somewhere near there.
Yeah, that wouldn't have gone well.
They probably moved to Dorvan 5 or something. They're living in the jungle.
Well, that didn't go very well for the last inhabitants.
No, but the Cardassians have done what they've done with that now, haven't they? So they're probably leaving it alone.
I guess my point is just that this is not so much a criticism, but it's a little criticism. It's it's the safe thing to do is to have the Doctor come back and give an inspirational speech, and the slightly less safe thing to do would be to toy with the idea, even for a cliffhanger of an episode, with the idea that the Doctor is not coming back and that he should stay there because someone made it home.
Yeah, but is that home for the Doctor? Because the Doctor's only ever existed on Voyager anyway.
That's true.
As far as he can remember. I mean, obviously he was created back in the Alpha Quadrant and probably tested and stuff. But, his version of the program's never run anywhere other than on Voyager. So to him, that is home.
Earth might as well be a holodeck.
Yeah.
For all of its
exactly.
lack of meaning
Exactly.
to him. Right, okay.
That's the only home that he's ever known. So why would he want to stay in the Alpha Quadrant? He wouldn't really.
Well, he'd have a bigger audience for his operatic performances.
That is true.
But he wouldn't have 7 of 9.
No.
That's true. Season 4 is interesting because you get so much emphasis on 7 of 9 joining the crew, and it really kind of overshadows a lot of what else is going on Voyager. Mm-hmm. And I kind of forget that the Doctor and 7 of 9 hadn't really got their comedy repertoire down yet. They hadn't become a thing yet. That happens after Season 4, like in Season 5. But
yeah. Yeah, no, they really haven't got that down yet.
In my headcanon, it's hard to separate the two. I'm glad I wasn't laughed off the podcast for picking this episode. So.
No, not at all. Good episode.
Was it a surprise, though? Did you know I was going to pick that one, or did it come as a shock?
I did not know.
I don't think I really knew what you were going to pick, to be honest. I mean, I figured we'd all pick Year of Hell without really any question. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I didn't really have any strong feelings about what you'd pick.
Okay. Well, surprise us, Kay. What's your first pick, other than Year of Hell?
My second pick, my first pick other than Year of Hell, I'm going to pick Living Witness as my second pick.
That is totally my third pick.
I thought it might be, actually, when I just said it then. I thought I bet Zach's picked that. And I even know why it'll be your pick as well.
Pick it.
Oh, well, do tell.
Well, it's just there's so much in here to delve into in terms of like how we interpret history and how people's perception of what's happened in the past can be coloured by who gets to tell the story of what happened and all the rest of it. And I just thought that's a Zach thing. Mm-hmm. That's totally a Zach thing.
People that have been listening to me podcast for a while kind of know that I like things like ancestry and genealogy and ancient history. And this takes Voyager and draws it out into a several centuries long perspective on what Voyager meant. And I just think that whole idea is so interesting.
Yeah, and it is. But I'm not sure that is my favourite things about the episode, even though I do find that really interesting. I love seeing this, like, dark Voyager.
Voyager's Mirror Universe episode?
Yeah, I love seeing it. Like, I totally know that, like, it's a complete fabrication. Nothing like that ever happened and everything. But do you know what? Us getting to see that is so fanfic.
Oh, definitely.
There's fanfic about Dark Voyager, I don't know.
Some good stuff, too.
And Kate Mulgrew is hamming it up as evil Janeway.
Oh,
as only she can.
Yeah, absolutely. She's fabulous. Like, the hair and the gloves.
I love the gloves.
Everything. Oh, I love the gloves, yeah.
We even get to see Harry ham-fisting someone across the face.
Which is totally unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't buy it. Even in an alternate timeline or in this alternate version, I don't buy it.
No, I'm with you on that. But I guess it just depends on, like, what you like and stuff. And I think with the fact that we've got the new show Discovery out at the moment, and, like, this idea of having a kind of potentially slightly darker version of Star Trek isn't something that appeals to everyone. Mm-hmm. But it is something that appeals to me, and I really like seeing that. I like dark in my stories, so I enjoy seeing that.
I kind of like this idea that Voyager has left a wake of destruction in their path. Like, they didn't just come and, like, surgically strike the Delta Quadrant in their path back to the Alpha Quadrant. They came and they made an impact, for better or for worse. We get to see the for worse version of it here.
Yeah, and I mean, it's quite interesting because it is a thing or an idea that's something that's happened with them that we see played out over a few different episodes, because we get the kind of the other episodes later on, don't we, where we get, Voyager's this ship of war and all the rest of it, and the impact that they've had on people is not necessarily what they intended.
You forget that Voyager is epic in scope. It's like Odysseus sailing home from Troy, right? It's this grand journey home, and there's all this interesting stuff that happens, and you can tell this really epic narrative tale about Voyager. I think this episode lets you step back and take that long-term perspective and see Voyager in a grander scope. You know, the epic tale of Voyager and all the destruction they caused.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you think the Doctor ever made it home?
Yeah.
You mean the backup module, the backup copy of the Doctor?
Module, Doctor.
Yes, the backup module. Did he meet up with Joe Van Gogh?
Yes.
Can you imagine the conversation, like sitting around having a conversation with his backup copy?
Yeah.
Those were good times on Voyager. Yeah, they were. I totally remember it. Yeah, me too. Okay, cool.
But you know what? That really does get me, though. Like, that really gets me. Like, when they say, the Doctor left and he wanted to follow the path of Voyager home, like, that just gets me in the feels. And those are the episodes that I like. Episodes that give me that. Like, when you just get that, feel that Voyager gives you.
That is totally what I'm saying. This is like Voyager's trip home to the Alpha Quadrant from the Delta Quadrant. This quest is kind of like Odysseus coming home from Troy. The backup copy of the Doctor going in search of what happened to Voyager is very much like Telemachus in the Odyssey going in search of, in that case, his father, but in search of the real Voyager crew. Maybe running into himself even. It does have this kind of epic narrative structure to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just suits Voyager as a show, this episode, I think, more than any of the others.
There's kind of like this weird archaeology element too. Like Voyager's left some artifacts, like a little torpedo tube and a tricorder and whatever else, like, piece of the bulkhead and some computer files that came from somewhere. Like, how do they have enough information? Like, where did these computer files come from to be able to recreate Voyager and their version of a holodeck? It's not totally clear. Yeah. Like, they don't have their computer core.
That's a good question.
Exactly.
Yeah, it never made sense to me, actually. They seem to know an awful lot, even though they get some details wrong.
Well, I assume that a lot of it is like word of mouth and just stuff that they've passed down. And I think the fact that we actually see like that sort of video clip, if you like, of our crew and they all look exactly like our crew, it's just that's fine. I can let that go. I'm not worried about that. Obviously, they wouldn't know exactly what they look like.
Except for the random changes that they...
It's just one of those, isn't it?
Yeah, the Doctor as an android.
Crazy mustache.
The thing that always strikes me the most is that Chakotay ends up with this massive tattoo that makes me just think of the tattoo that Q gets in Q in the Grave.
Exactly. That's what I think of too. I'm like,
mine's bigger.
Not anymore.
Creepy Tuvok is creepy as well, I have to say.
Yes, he is.
How creepy is Tuvok in this episode?
I never expected to see Tuvok like give me the crawls. Yeah.
When Tim Russ does that like creepy sadistic smile, that just like
he's way too good at that.
Like, yeah, he is way too good at that.
He is ready to fire those weapons of mass destruction. Yes, he is.
And I mean, seeing all of them in their dark guises is really cool. But I think with Tuvok, because normally he's normally so flat and you get nothing from him in that way. I think it's just all the more marked for that.
How about that army of Borg drones they keep down in the cargo bay?
Mm-hmm.
Well, where else would they keep them?
That's keeping Janeway busy. Keeping Janeway busy with her reclamation project.
And even little things like having a Kazon on board in a uniform, that's cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Like they're slave traders going, kidnapping members of various alien races to serve as servants on their ship.
But it's entertaining how wrong they managed to get it.
Oh, yeah.
But I do love getting to see that alternate dark Voyager. What would it have been like if things had been somewhat different? I guess it's like the closest we really get to a mirror universe episode on Voyager, because we don't actually get the mirror universe.
This is their mirror universe episode, absolutely.
It is the mirror universe episode, really, isn't it? Yeah.
These are just little things, but I like the self-reflectiveness that the museum curator has in entertaining the possibility that everything he's believed might be wrong. We should all be so self-reflective, right?
Yeah, because it is difficult to get people to change their minds about anything.
Especially in this day and age when people seem to hold to their convictions so strongly. People just need to humble themselves up a little bit and entertain the idea that maybe they're wrong. And this character does a great job at that.
Well, especially given the fact that, it's a very core part of his belief system, and obviously his identity is quite strongly built on that. So the fact that he's willing to listen to other ideas it reflects well on him as a character, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and we forget, for these people, this is like a major event in their history, right? This is like the Declaration of Independence, or this is like the sacking of Rome, or something along
World
those
War
lines.
II.
World War II. A major event, not a little
bombing
footnote
London,
in history.
Yeah.
So they have to reconceive their entire historical perspective on this.
Yeah, exactly. It would be like somebody showing up, and saying, oh, by the way, Hitler was actually a good guy. We'd all be like, what?
Yes, Edith Keeler should have lived.
Yeah. Yeah.
Heresy.
Yeah, exactly. So, to put it in context.
Sounds like heresy against doctrine to me, Suzanne.
He's a pretty genuinely open-minded guy, so it is good to see that. So, yeah, that's my second pick. Living Witness.
And my third pick, so I'm out.
You're out.
Peace out.
Already.
Okay, well, to continue on with the Hitler-esque, my second pick is The Killing Game.
Do you know what? I almost said I think Suzanne's going to pick Killing Game.
Of course I would.
It's because you're secretly evil.
But no.
We know your hidden evil side, Suzanne. Other people don't hear it, but we do.
No, it's totally the Janeway Chakotay aspect. That and seeing Janeway as a Klingon.
Yeah. I
amazing.
knew that.
Sorry, Katrine and Miller is what I think you mean. So that's his name, isn't it?
Yes. Captain Miller, you're a gung-ho kind of gal. Yes. So much good fan fiction from this. So much.
Oh, yes. Yes, a lot.
And just the costuming and the makeup was awesome.
I love in, like, the beginning where we just see her there in, like, the white suit. Because you're straight away like, what's going on with this?
I prefer the black shirt and the black pants.
That is very cool.
She
as
just
well.
looks awesome.
I totally knew you guys were going to go all fashion show on me on this one.
Yeah.
That's
What's
what we
wrong
do.
with
It's
that?
the Voyager fashion show on To the Journey.
Yeah, we've always going to comment on the costume.
Sure, yeah.
And Chakotay looks amazing in his fatigues.
He does.
Hands down.
He does.
Everyone likes a man in uniform, yes.
Well, unless it's a Nazi uniform, then no.
Or a woman in uniform.
Yes.
We're an equal opportunities podcast, so.
Equal opportunity uniform enjoyment, yes.
Yes.
But as long as neither uniform is a Nazi uniform.
True.
Honestly, my own perspective on I don't really get off on period pieces so much, so this episode would not have made my list because I'm not into historical period pieces so much. Oddly enough, given my interest in history.
I don't think of it as a period piece. I think of it more, I mean, well, it obviously is, but that's not how I see it. I see it more of the journey of the Alpha Herogen. He wants to change his culture. This is a perfect way for him to do so, and he's trying. And I just really like that story. It's like, yes, he was raised in the old ways, but he found something new, and he wants to try and preserve his culture, but move on to a new tradition.
I know, I just want to give that Hirogen a hug.
I don't think he'd like that, but...
He's trying so hard. Give him a hug.
Yeah, and kind of touching on what you were saying, Suzanne, you know, I think there ends up being a bit of a slight trope of, like, having the World War II episode or having the Nazi episode in iterations of Star Trek, because we do see it over and over again, and it becomes a bit of a joke after a while. But I actually think this one, of all the ones that we see, I think this one actually makes the most sense, and it's also one of the best done.
Yes.
Because I think it makes sense that that's what the Hirogen would pull out when they're a warlike species and they're looking for a simulation of, like, an Earth conflict. I mean, it makes sense. It's a big one. It's probably the biggest one. We've also got World War One as well, obviously, but, you know.
There are so many more brutal conflicts in the history of the world that don't involve nice fancy uniforms that would be more Hirogen-like. I don't get why the Hirogen are attracted to the uniforms.
When they were choosing the programs, didn't they make mention of Wolf 359?
It was mentioned, yeah.
I want to see the Hirogen playing Borg. Yeah, absolutely.
That would be cool.
But they probably will do. This is just the one that they've chosen
This week.
for this particular, yeah.
Just like they chose the thing where they're Klingons. That, and when you get the Doctor, you know, following around Klingon Neelix, you can't go wrong with that. You can't.
I know doing the Nazi thing is a thing in many Star Trek series, but why not do something totally outside the box? Like go to ancient Rome or ancient Greece or some...
TOS did ancient
Well,
Rome.
they
Troy
do
or
that in
something
the
like that.
original series. Who Mourns for Adonias or whatever it's called.
Yeah, they do. And it's really corny when they do it in the original series. It's just as corny.
And then they also did, like, if you want to go to a different time period, Earth, with gangsters.
Quite a few. Yeah, and they did Gunfight at the OK Corral. As well, didn't they?
And don't forget that the Next Generation did Robin Hood.
Yes.
I'm not a merry man.
I am not a married man.
I am not to marry Hirogen.
So far, Suzanne, you've now had 4 episodes for the price of 2.
Yes.
Nicely done.
Woohoo, bonus.
Yeah, I honestly forget about those episodes. I don't tend to rewatch them. Okay, I've totally been doing them a disservice, and I'm going to rewatch them because of you, Suzanne.
Dude.
Because I haven't rewatched them in a while. I didn't do
I
my homework.
actually haven't rewatched Killing Game in a while, so I think
Yeah.
I need to put that up on my rewatch
Oh,
list.
well, Logan and I watched it last week, so...
Hey,
What did he think?
He made it through the first part and then fell asleep during the second.
fair.
But that's
Fair.
pretty much what he does with everything.
Yeah.
He's just like his daddy. Right on the couch, just snoring away. Yeah.
Okay. So we're done with your picks, aren't we, Zach? You've got done. all
I'm
3.
done. I'm out. I'm just commenting on your guys'
Okay.
picks.
Now, my third one, I'm not sure whether this is a particularly predictable one, actually. But my third pick is 1.
Okay.
this is the one where we end up with Seven basically alone on the ship. Seven and the Doctor initially, but then Seven later. I just love the journey that she goes on here. First of all, there's something really Star Trek about this episode, which I think is very appealing. Mm-hmm. I like the idea that we've got... It feels like really sort of classic next-gen type episode for Voyager in this one.
I think that's due to who wrote it.
Yeah. So I really like that. I think it just really screams, classic funky Star Trek concept. Oh, we've got this cloud that everybody can't cope with. They've got to go into stasis, and we've got two people who've got to run the ship, basically. And I like that. And then it all gets a bit spooky, she's there by herself doing her logs, and then you've got this guy that shows up who's not really there, or is he really there? I don't think we ever really find out whether he was really there or not, which is quite interesting. The trader guy. I like the fact that we never really know whether or not he was actually really there.
I like to think that he was.
I think he was, or at least she ran into somebody and spoke to him, even if he didn't end up on the ship, and then it informed her other stuff that went on later on.
Yeah, because he was pretty cool.
I like the ambiguity of it. I do like the ambiguity of it, but I also like the fact that this is really like the first big responsibility that she's been given, and there's this whole debate between Janeway and Chakotay, or Janeway wants to give it to her, and Chakotay's like, well, can we trust her to do it? And just remember all the stuff that she's done and who she is, and she manages to do it in the end. And for me, it really feels like after this episode, that's like her really kind of becoming part of the crew properly. I just really like it, and the way that the relationship develops between Seven and the Doctor as well.
Yeah,
it is like the culmination of Seven's whole story arc in this season.
Yeah, so I just really like this one, and Tom Paris, bless him, and his claustrophobia. I massively relate to that because I'm horrendously claustrophobic, so I'm with Tom on that one.
Oh, me too. Ugh.
Yeah, I could never. I don't. If I had to go in a stasis pod, I don't know what I'd do. It would be awful.
They'd have to knock me out first. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I just like the little bracketing we get around it as well, where we get this little scene at the beginning where she's struggling to go and sit with people, and she's kind of rapid firing these questions and stuff. And then at the end of the episode, we see her actually. We feel like she gets accepted by the crew, and they're happy to have her sit with them because she's done this thing, and they have this trust for her now.
Yeah.
And it's really nice. There's just a lot. I find a lot personally to like in this episode, and I get the fact that it's probably not one that a lot of people would pick out, but it just works for me because of that. And I find it's a really memorable one as well. So that's one. What do you guys think about one? Do you like it?
Oh yeah, I do like it. I like how Seven isn't trusting what she's seeing, what she's feeling, what she's hearing.
Yeah.
In that way, she's more human than we've ever seen her.
Yeah, it's a look inside Seven's personality, her mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think in the context of what happens with her later, it's easy to go back and watch this one and think, well, we kind of know Seven. But if you see it in the context of the fact that, this is the first time that we really get into her head, I think it's a great episode because of that.
See, I think what I love about doing these Desert Island episodes is that our picks are so different, and it exposes our biases about what we like and what we don't. Like, this would never have made my list in a million years, and you've totally made a case that it's worth rewatching, and I haven't rewatched it in a long time, and that is my fault, and I'm going to go rewatch it.
Yeah, well, I rewatched it a couple of nights ago, and I still really love it, probably as much as I did the first time that I saw it. In fact, probably more than the first time I saw it, because I find more in it every time. I think it's one of those with some subtleties in where you find new little bits every time you watch it.
Totally. And what I didn't do to prepare for this episode, I didn't go back and rewatch this entire season because I don't have time to do that, first of all.
No,
I went right to the episodes I went right to the episodes that I go to all the time. And it's entirely possible that there are episodes I would appreciate more now, maybe even better than my original picks, if I took the time to rewatch them with that in mind.
So there you go. That's my last pick one.
How does that leave me?
You're up, Suzanne, yeah.
Well, I take you to the very next episode, Hope and Fear.
That's totally one of my honorable mentions. I love this episode.
Yeah, me too.
Well, not only for the story, but you get Ray Wise, and you can't go wrong with Ray Wise. I love him. No matter what he's ever been in, he's just been awesome.
I know I'm being totally simplistic here, and it's exactly like what I love about Message in a Bottle. I love seeing a futuristic, new, different Federation ship, even though it's not a real Federation ship.
It's a fake! It's a fake!
It's fake, yes. I kind of geek out about the ships. I'm a ship guy. I love seeing the different ships. I just like seeing a different version on a ship here. Different bridge, different, configuration.
And
even though it's
different
fake.
Way to get around the universe. Slipstream drive.
That old trope again? That old chestnut in Voyager? How many different kinds of slipstream, quantum, whatevers can they
Well, they didn't use a tardigrade.
That's true. No spore drive.
Well, more's the pity.
No mushrooms.
And the episode is the poorer for it.
My favourite bits out of this episode is actually the bits where Seven and Janeway play Velocity.
That is good. I do like that.
One of my favorite things about this episode is Arturus's linguistic ability. I just love this idea that he's so good at languages. He can hear this tiny little fragment of languages, and he's got the entire language down. It's wildly implausible. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but I think it's interesting. That's not how languages work. You can't hear 2 words of language and know the entire language, right? The languages don't work that way.
Do not contradict Ray Wise. He knows.
Ray Wise knows all. He's so wise. He knows everything.
And I think one of the main reasons I like this episode, Brian Fuller was one of the writers, and I adore most things he writes. Not all, but most.
Yeah.
You guys have to admit, though, it's kind of a weak season ender, though.
What did you want to end the season?
Like a cliffhanger, like a...
You don't always need a cliffhanger.
I like cliffhangers.
No, and I mean, Voyager started that as a thing. I mean, I know we had cliffhangers in the other seasons, but Voyager was the one who started this having a cliffhanger at the end of every season.
I was going to say TNG didn't have one every season.
No,
but quite often they did a few, right?
Yeah, it became more of a thing, didn't it, by this point? But
they had Best of
did
Both
a couple.
Worlds. They had
Best
Time
of Both
Zero.
Worlds, but before that they didn't. In fact, there were no double parters after Farpoint before Best of Both Worlds, I don't think.
Yeah, not that I can remember.
I think that was the next double parter in Next Gen. And then they had some more double parters later, but not necessarily at the end of the season.
Yeah, they had Time Zero. Wasn't that a season ender?
Yeah, but not all of the seasons.
And they had that weird one with Lore and the Borg.
Oh, that I block from my memory.
Yeah, season 6 and 7, right?
Descent? No.
Yeah, whatever it's called. The one I can't remember the title of. Yeah, Descent. That sounds right. We'll go with it. So it's not like Voyager introduced the idea of a cliffhanger.
No.
No, not at all. But what I mean is, like, I think it works for this season because what it does do is it rounds out the 7 arc. Like we saw, obviously, as we just said, 1, which I think is like a few episodes before this.
It was the episode preceding.
Is it the previous one? Yeah. So it's the second to last episode gives us like the build up that allows us to have this episode, which is where Janeway and Seven finally have this look how far you've come, and it paves the way for her to actually feel like a full member of the crew in season 5. So I think it works for me.
The lack of a cliffhanger actually works well for the way season 5 starts the next season with Night.
Exactly.
Just this kind of existential dread of the nothingness in this region of space, and they're bored, and Voyager's been out here for a while now, and a cliffhanger wouldn't lend itself to that kind of introspection.
No,
in the beginning of the
exactly,
next
and I
season.
think Night works really brilliantly as a season opener. So
yes, I absolutely agree. Night is a great season opener,
for that
but
to be the season opener, you have to not have a cliffhanger. So yeah.
I agree. But Hope and Fear feels just like a week, like the season peters out rather than ends on a.
It doesn't peter out.
I don't know.
Dude.
It peters out.
Dude.
It ends on a different note, but it ends on a more emotional note rather than a sort of dramatic cliffhanger-y note. But it definitely ends well, I think.
Yeah.
So those are our picks for season 4 then. Yay! So I guess honourable mentions.
Who's got the first one?
Okay, I'll go first with an honorable mention. My first honorable mention, and this almost made my list, Nemesis.
Mine too.
Okay.
I could very well have put that on my list. Yeah, but I didn't. Because you have to make hard choices in life, right? So,
yeah.
Hard choice.
It is so good, and it's so Chakotay-centric, so it makes me happy.
Yeah, we like a Chakotay episode. Yeah. I'm happy with that.
And his line about he wishes it were just as easy to stop hating as it was to start. It's such a profound line because, I mean, really, once you start hating something, there's really no turning back.
And it's totally natural for Chakotay to get invested in the people he's been around. He's seen their struggles. He's been part of their war. He's come to care for the individuals. And that's a totally understandable thing. And then they turn, of course, they turn it 180 degrees and mix it up, and there's a twist to it. But, it's his emotional journey is a totally understandable one, yet he ends up in such a place of hatred at the end of it.
It was kind of Stockholm Syndrome-ish. So he's Patty Hearst. In a weird kind of way.
Yeah. Chakotay is Patty Hearst. I don't know which version of this episode you watched, but...
Just that his brain is wired in a different way than... You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Don't question me.
Suzanne, I will forever... From this moment onward, I will always think of this episode as the Patty Hearst episode. So, there you go.
Yeah.
Thank you for making that impact.
Well, my first honourable mention is scientific method.
That's a good one, too.
So I got to get scientific method in there, because I think we talked about this fairly recently, didn't we? I seem to remember talking about this fairly recently. I forget which episode we were doing, but I seem to remember talking a bit about scientific method.
I think it was our Halloween one.
Was it? Okay,
because of all the spooky Halloween
one,
stuff in this. Voyager Hellraiser. Yeah.
Really cool, creepy sci-fi concept, and the crew being messed with, and we get to see some rawness there. So yeah, I think this is a good one to pull out.
This was also on my short list of honorable mentions.
Mine as well.
I could have put this on
definitely
my
mine
list.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it as much as the others, but it's really a unique episode.
Yeah, me too. I don't think it's one that I would rewatch as often, even though I do enjoy it.
And that's the thing. I don't rewatch it very much, but it stands out in my memory as part of an essential part of the season.
It's a memorable episode, definitely.
Yes, that's it. That's it exactly.
People definitely sort of will go, the one where the invisible aliens are torturing them.
Yeah, the needles in Janeway's head. Ooh, just creeps me out every time.
Yeah. The bit that I always remember the most, actually, from this episode is the bit where they kind of tune Seven so she can see them, and then she's in the turbo lift and she has to pretend that she can't see
trying to ignore them.
That's the bit that I always remember, that she's trying to pretend that she can't see her. Yeah.
Especially when they're probing her. Imagine just standing there and be like, everything's
and
cool.
having to pretend you can't see them and you don't know what's going on.
I'm good. Nothing's going on. No.
Yeah. Everything is fine.
No way.
It's 8 o'clock and all's well. Yeah, I had to give scientific method a shout out. Anyone got any more?
I do have one. It would be Vis-a-Vis, which would be the alien shuttle thing with Steth, and who's not really Steth, and all the body jumping going on.
Possession thing. Yeah, Vis-a-Vis.
That brings us back to Frasier, because Steth is Bulldog on Frasier. And each time I watch it, I'm
circle.
like, Bulldog.
You just wanted to get that in, didn't you?
Well, a little bit. But no, I do like this episode, just with the body jumping.
I do like it as well.
And I don't know why. Just seeing the different characters, but with the other people's mannerisms. Because the actors do try and get that.
Love a body swap episode. It's another one of those, like the time travel episode, the body swap episode. It's such a cool sci-fi concept that you see in a lot of sci-fi shows. So it's nice to see that done there. So yeah, I do like this one. I think my last honourable mention is Day of Honor, which I think overall as an episode, I'm not a huge fan of, really. I mean, it's just an episode, but I do like the fact that we kick off the whole Tom and B'Elanna thing.
I was going to say the ending is what makes the episode.
Yes, the ending, I think. The whole oxygen deprivation causing honesty.
Mm-hmm. But Tom never says anything.
No.
Makes me nuts.
But yeah, so for the advent of Tom and B'Elanna, I have to throw that one in there.
Yeah.
I could give a little nod or a shout out to Unforgettable.
How dare you?
Really?
I like it.
I would say, and I would be interested to see if there are any listeners that disagree with us on this, because I think this is pretty much fact, which is that I think that Unforgettable is possibly the most ironically named episode of Star Trek.
It is, because it is completely forgettable.
Forgettable.
Completely.
It's not that bad. Really?
Yes.
It's just...
It is that bad.
Meh. It's just... Do you know what, though? It's not even bad. It's just meh. I don't even hate it. it doesn't even hit my radar. I think when I'm looking down a list of episodes, my eyes just glance over it.
Okay, I will rewatch The Killing Game if you guys rewatch that one.
Okay.
I don't need to rewatch it. I know it's meh.
Is it a
It
deal?
is meh.
Is it a deal? Can we pinky swear on it?
Do I have to?
Pinky swear.
Yeah, TTJ pinky swear right now.
Okay.
Okay, fine. Pinky swear.
So my last honorable mention will be Hunters, and mainly for the scene that was cut.
And mainly for the scene that's not even in it.
Exactly. But it was in the promo. It was in the promo,
It
man.
was in the promo.
You've been resenting it ever since.
I have, because I saw it and I was like, and then it never happened. And I'm like, the whole season I'm waiting for
What a
the scene
letdown.
and nothing.
So what'll it be, Chakotay?
Stick to protocol.
Give in to my feelings? Hold fast to protocol? What? We have plenty of time to think about it.
Oh my gosh.
Suzanne's just gone all dreamy on
I
us.
did, because I when I saw that promo, I was screaming in my living room. And I watched the entire season waiting for it, and it freaking never came. False advertising. I could sue. And I should.
I didn't get that experience because I was not watching Voyager at this time period in its first run, so I didn't see
me
that
neither, so-
promo. I've seen it now, but not...
I don't think we would have gotten that promo either.
Yeah,
So
you probably
we probably
wouldn't.
would have had different ones. Yeah.
Is there some general characteristic difference in how they cut promos and trailers for your audience versus the American audience? Like, why wouldn't they have used that one?
Oh, they're way less over-dramatic. Like, your promos are so over-dramatic compared to ours.
That makes sense. So are Americans,
We
right?
don't get
Really.
dramatic voiceover guy for television.
But I totally remember
In a
going
world,
into
right?
AOL chat the end of the season, and I'm like, typing away. Where was that freaking scene? And so many other people were like, yeah, where was it?
With the same. Yeah. Well, I actually wrote a fanfic which starts with that scene.
Yay.
I
Did
could've guessed
Neelix
that,
interrupt?
actually.
No.
Good. Because I hate when I read them, and it's going along, and Neelix interrupts. I'm like, freaking Neelix, you're as bad as Tuvok and the monkey. It goes Tuvok, the monkey, and then Neelix. They're all on my list of bad interrupters.
Interrupters!
Interrupt.
So, listeners, everybody who thought that they were tuning in for our top 3 picks for our Desert Island for Season 4, what you've actually got is Suzanne's top 3 list of interrupters.
Neelix Interruptus. Well, you guys, it's been fun talking about Neelix Interruptus, but this isn't the only thing we've been discussing here on Trek FM this past week. So here's a quick look at some of the other things you may have missed elsewhere on Trek.fm.
Previously on Trek.fm, Warp 5.
Did you know that it's the same planet that they're talking about?
No.
Yeah, so
Nuh-uh.
it is. So it's Krios Prime. Like she also comes from Krios Prime, right? So, and the makeup is the same and everything, right? So like that was
Okay, I did have that. I'm like, okay, the only thing I can see is that they have the same makeup. That was the only thing. And I was wondering why it was the same, and now I know. Why did I not make that connection? You guys are so smart.
The Edge, a Star Trek Discovery podcast.
Well, when I was thinking about where do I find peace, I found it so ironic because it seems in opposition to what my fear is. And when I think, gosh, Amy, where am I at peace? It's when I'm alone. And then I was thinking, well, that's stupid because my greatest fear is being alone.
The 602 Club.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to what I was talking about. For the last 2 films that we've talked about, to say that what I want for Roger Moore is a sense of dignity for the character.
Continuing mission.
Now, on today's show, we have a very special guest who has steered the good ship Enterprise through some perilous adventures, fought off dastardly villains, and wooed the ladies, all in a day's work. He's now vacated the captain's chair by order of Starfleet Command and is now being railroaded in a new career. More about that later. Excuse the puns. Will you please welcome to Continuing Mission Mr. Vic Mignogna? How you doing, Dick?
That was a very creative narrative you just put together there. I love it. That was quite witty, sir.
Well, it's high praise indeed.
Thank you. Well, it's a pleasure to join you and Zach both. Thanks for having me.
And that's what else is happening on Trek.fm.
Check out all of these shows and join the conversation about your favorite corner of the Star Trek universe and beyond. You'll find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you're an Apple user, be sure to hit the subscribe button in Apple Podcasts on the iPhone, iPad, Apple TV, or the desktop iTunes app to get the latest episodes as soon as they are published. And please leave us a star rating and a written review. If you're not an Apple user, we've got you covered as well. You can find our shows on Google Play Music, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Windows Phone, and most third-party podcast apps, and you can stream and download the MP3 file from our website or grab the RSS link as well.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's show, and there are many ways for you to do that. The best place to join in the larger conversation is the Babel Conference, our listeners-only group on Facebook. Just type Babel, B-A-B-E-L, into the search field on Facebook, and it should come right up. If you'd like to send us an email, you can use the form on our website at trek.fm/contact, choose message to a trek.fm show, and select To the Journey. That will come right to us. You can also find the network on Twitter at TrekFM and on Facebook at facebook.com/TrekFM. Kay, when you're not shoving Tom Paris back into his stasis unit, where can our listeners find you?
Well, they can always find me in the Babel Conference. And if they want to look me up on Twitter, my handle is Choco Weeble. When you are not roaming the universe, repeatedly resetting time in the hopes of regaining your lost love, where can our listeners find you?
Well, you can find me elsewhere on Trek.fm as co-host of Metatrek's Trek FM show on Star Trek and philosophy, along with my co-host over there, Mike Morrison. You can always find me in the Babel Conference if you'd like to talk about Voyager with me over there, and you're welcome to follow me on Twitter. My handle is just my name, at Zachary Fruhling. That's Zachary, Z-A-C-H-A-R-Y, Fruhling, F-R-U-H-L-I-N-G. And Suzanne, when you're not playing Frasier and Niles with Suzanne Mark II, where can our listeners find you on the interwebs and around the Trek FM network?
You'll find me occasionally popping up in the Babel Conference, and you can find me on Twitter. My handle is KJaneway8.
Well, if you'd like to help us keep all of our shows coming to each week, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/TrekFM, that's patreon.com/TrekFM, to get all the details. Perks include early access to episodes, exclusive content, producer credits and more, available through our special patrons website, The Patron Zone. It requires a great deal of money to produce, host and distribute these shows each month. We really appreciate any support you can give us and hope you'll join the team. Again, you can find all the details at patreon.com/TrekFM.
Well, there are a few people we would like to thank. The first off being the founder and publisher of Trek.fm, C. Brian Jones, also known as the man who has access to the multi-vector assault mode. Also, our executive producers, Matthew Rushing and Kenneth Tripp, Aaron Harvey, our art director, Richard Marquez, our production manager, and Brandon Shamatala, our Patreon manager. And a special thank you to our associate producers, Bruce Lish, Ju Kim, Richard Marquez, Patrick Carlin, and Norman Lau.
Well, be sure to join us in 700 years when our backup modules will be taking over the show for us. But until then, this has been To the Journey.